So basically, what we wanted to try to do, I know that last year, after the signing class that we had last year with the big numbers and all that kind of stuff, we weren't really expecting to have that many numbers, that many guys that we're going to announce and things like that. But as we got into this, what we started doing was we kind of, be honest with you, we kind of overhauled our recruiting a little bit, and our main focus was to see how we can increase our depth is what we wanted to do. And for those who are unfamiliar with FCS football, you get 63 scholarships that you can put 85 bodies on. And our goal, and we're not there yet, Rome was not built in a day, but our goal is to get as close to 85 bodies on some form of scholarship as possible. And right now, with the way that the signing class ended up, if you look at our roster, the guys that we have now and the guys that we signed, I think we're right there around 78 bodies on some form of scholarship, which is good because now you've got able bodies at all positions, and one injury doesn't throw you in a catastrophe where you got to move a bunch of pieces and parts around. So that's ultimately what we tried to do. And I think we had right around about 10 scholarships to work with. And obviously we're going to wind up announcing 30 guys. Now, with that being said, you got to understand we're announcing 30 guys. I think we will have signed about 17 or 18. But anybody who knows me, I was a walk-on guy myself. So what we've done is we've tried to find ways and little loopholes for some of these guys, and obviously nobody will know that, who they are, who the signees are, and who the walk-ons are. But we've tried to find loopholes in ways that we can take some of those walk-ons, let them go through the signing day, announce them as part of our signing class. And it makes our signing class look a little bit, quote-unquote, bigger than it really is. But I like doing that for those guys because those guys are some of the most important that you'll have in your team, especially when you're trying to build depth. So all in all, we've got 30 guys that we'll announce, 12 of which were all-state winners, all-state award winners. And the biggest thing that I was happy with was 18 of them are within a 3-hour radius of Murray, Kentucky, whether that be the state of Kentucky or within a 3-hour radius. So we really tried to get some of our homegrown talent and some talent around Murray, Kentucky. We signed, you can see it in your sheet, we signed 8 offensive linemen, 7 wide receivers, 5 defensive backs, 3 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 defensive linemen, an athlete, a kicker, and a long snapper. And then, like I said, 12 of them were from Tennessee, 8 of them were from the state of Kentucky. Had 4 of them from Illinois and Mississippi, and then had a couple from Alabama and South Carolina. So really, really excited about this group. I'll run down the names kind of so that we can, obviously we got 30 guys, so I'm just going to run down the names. If you guys have particular questions about one of these guys, and we'll talk about them a little bit more in depth. But I'll start out with our 5 midterm guys. Those are guys that are already here on campus and been working out with the team. We've got 2 quarterbacks. One of them was a transfer from Old Dominion, Schuler Bentley. And then the other one was an early high school grad, Preston Rice, out of Wayne County High School. Then we go offensive lineman J.R. Burns out of Northwest Mississippi Community College. And then Kenny Wooten, D lineman, a D end from Etowamba Community College. And then obviously finished up with Rico McGraw, transfer out of Georgia, whose brother Mario McGraw played for us last year, was freshman running back. Okay, so those were our 5 midterm guys. Then for our February guys, we had at the wide receiver position, we had Rodney Castile out of Liberty Tech, DeQuan Dallas out of Melrose High School over towards Memphis. We had C.J. Hennigan right down the road out of Hopkinsville High School, Corey Jones out of St. George's Independent High School over there towards Memphis, Alec Raboyne out of Mattoon High School in Illinois, Austin Thomas right down the road, Dresden High School, Kylan Martin, Humboldt High School out of Tennessee. Then at running back, had Trajan Bright, Mayfield High School. Obviously, he needs no introduction around here. And then DJ Pinnock, running back out of Highland Park, Illinois, up there around Chicago, the Chicago area. Then we've got Corey Newble. He's a quarterback. He's from Liberty Tech. He is a quarterback, but he's also an athlete. He played a little bit of corner in high school, so he's kind of an athlete. But we're going to bring him here, give him the rock back there behind center for a little bit, see how we see what we want to do with him right there. Then you got Austin Dalton, O-lineman out of Southwestern High School over in Burnside, Kentucky. Levi Nessler right down the road, Graves County High School, offensive lineman. Davion Phillips, again, right down the road, Trigg County High School. Mitch Ponder, again, Glasgow High School, right down the road, Glasgow, Kentucky. Keelan Rooks out of Dresden High School. Offensive lineman, played a lot of defensive line in high school. Very tall, long kid. Jacob Vance, another one, North Oldham High School in Kentucky. Matter of fact, guys who are familiar with this program, old Joe Gansky, who used to be a defensive lineman here, is now coaching over those towards that area he used to coach, Jacob Vance. So had a lot of good things to say about him. Then we got Shane Walker, St. Francis High School up in Illinois. Those are your O-linemen. Then we've got Colin Boyd, kicker, out of Illinois, Sacred Heart Griffin High School. Then we got Chandler Moody, Brentwood High School down in Tennessee, long snapper. And then Jeremy Bumpus, athlete out of Union City, Tennessee. Obviously, you probably heard about him. Tristan Bonstetter, DB, out of Trinity Christian Academy over in Jackson, Tennessee. Jawan Keys, out of East Central Community College, defensive back. Don Parker, defensive back out of Hopkinsville, right down the road. And then Kamon Woods, another defensive back from Holmes Community College. And then last but not least, Jaquez Hill, defensive end out of Pleasant Grove High School down in Alabama, kind of a pass rush guy. So that's the class. Again, like I said, 8 offensive linemen, 7 wide receivers, 5 defensive backs, 3 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 defensive linemen, an athlete, a kicker, a long snapper, and a partridge in a pear tree right there. So so that's it. And then what we'll do is I'll open it up to you guys. If you guys want to know anything in particular about some of these guys, I'll be more than happy to kind of share all the information about them.
The number of guys that you signed in the local area.
Yeah.
What is your feeling on the quality of the talent that this area has produced?
It was a really good year, man. Really good year for again. When we set out trying to build depth, that was the first thing we wanted to do. We wanted to try to get as many athletes and as many local guys as we could so that we could build some of that depth at each position. And every position was important. I always get the question, who are you most excited about? I'm excited about all of these guys. And we were just very fortunate enough that, we had a lot of good talent very locally this year.
One of the things I noticed also is that no linebackers are in this class.
No, we felt pretty good about our linebacking crew. Which, with that being said, now we're not done. Signing day is not the end. Really and truly, it's just the beginning, because there'll be a lot of shakedown now. There'll be a lot of guys who wound up not signing and different things of that nature. Maybe some guys on some teams right now, maybe at an FBS school that look at that signing class and go, oh man, they must be after my job. And so we're not done by any means, but we felt pretty good about the linebacker position going into the signing class, and kind of focused more on the secondary and a pass rusher on the defensive side of the ball.
And also, I noticed there were quite a few receivers and quite a few offensive linemen. Did you feel they needed those two positions?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is with those skill guys, defensively and offensively, what we look for is not only guys that can play those two positions, wide receiver or DB. We look for fourth down value. Okay. We look for guys who can cover kicks, who can tackle in space, who are dynamic athletes, who can return. If you just kind of say, hey, we need this many at wide receiver or this many at DB, you may miss out on some best available guys that can do a lot more stuff for you. Those big guys, it's good. I've got a lot of texts today going, hey, Coach, man, I love the big boys. Man, I'm seeing so much beef, so much meat. Well, that's true, because you got to be able to move the line of scrimmage. And obviously with as many offensive linemen that we signed, I thought we needed some help there. But at the same time, not to take anything away from those guys, but they're kind of one-trick ponies now. I mean, they do one specific thing. They either protect or they push. Whereas those skilled athlete guys, small skill athlete guys, they've got a lot of different work. They can cover kicks. They can do some things in fourth down value guys. So we really wanted to put an emphasis there.
I know last year you guys didn't have a spring game. When you have a signing class like this combined with last year's signing class,
Yeah.
is that how much more excited are you for the spring? Does that provide a lot more flexibility going into the summer?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, man. Last year, we weren't able to do a spring game. We didn't have enough bodies. This year, the biggest thing that I'm excited about right now is we will go into spring with our 22 deep on offense and defense. Okay, so our first and second guys, as of right now, before we plug these guys in, if these guys did not come in the fall, we would go into spring right now with our ones and twos on both sides of the football. So that's very exciting for me, not only from a standpoint of I don't have to mess with the practice schedule and figure out, man, how can we squeeze a couple of reps here and there through spring. We can actually go through a full legitimate practice every day, but also, man, it's a lot of fun. I loved 2 years ago when I first became the head coach, we had a big spring game over here, and I got the Greek life all over here, and some students over here to help us out. And we're going to do those things again, and be the last Friday in April is when we're going to do it. We kind of called it the fastest Friday in Kentucky. We're going to bring that back. So very excited to be able to do that again. I wasn't in a situation last year where I could do that, and very excited to have a chance to do that and have my guys that I'm quote unquote counting on, because these guys are just icing on the cake. You know what I mean? I've got the guys on the team that I'm going to count on in the fall, and all of those guys will be here for spring.
How competitive does the quarterback position become now that KD has graduated and you have two guys already here plus another guy in this signing class?
Well, the way this offense is built, that room's always competitive. Even when KD was here, it was a competitive place. But obviously, there's a little bit more. There's a little bit higher sense of urgency in that room. And you've got to figure out how to delegate the reps and who to delegate the reps to, and because we got an awful lot of talent in that room now. Not only with the guys that we brought in and signed, but the guys who are already here. We've got an awful lot of talent in that room, and again, we're building some depth. We've got. I think we'll wind up having about 7 or 8 guys sitting in that room come the fall, which is good, because I make the joke. I want all those guys kind of like a midget at a urinal. They got to be on their toes the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So I want some people pressing against them. My SID's in the background doing this to me, but that's what we want around here. We want guys behind, nipping on people's heels, trying to make that guy better. It's the same thing I told my team when we got done in the season. I told my guys here in the locker room, I said, listen, I want you to understand something. I'm going to try to recruit people that I think are better than you. I'm going to try to recruit athletes that are better than what I have on campus. And to top it off, I'm going to ask you to host them when they come in on visits, because that's your motivation going through the offseason. That's my guys' motivation going through the offseason is they know my big guys, my offensive line, they're not idiots. They saw the last weekend when we brought 7 or 8 offensive line prospects in at one time. I guarantee you they were walking around a little bit with a chip on their shoulder, and that's ultimately what you want. People pushing people. That's what makes it better. Competitiveness. You can't ever beat that on your team.
Do you feel like from a recruiting standpoint that message went through? I just left Cadiz, and De'Avian Phillips, one of your signees, said that was the first thing. He said agriculture was the first thing he was coming for. Number 2, he was coming for somebody's job at Murray State.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your recruiters delivered that message this offseason?
Yeah, I think so. I think they all know it. I think the staff made it abundantly clear of that when we were talking to prospects. I think that they made it abundantly clear when we did our exit meetings with our guys on the roster. And we don't say that. That's not any type of, there's no negative undertones in that or anything like that. It was strictly to, hey, understand, man, this is your motivation going through the offseason. This is what's going to push you. When we're waking your butt up early in the morning and you're doing things that you don't like to do, this is your motivation. Know that there's somebody in KD's, there's somebody in Nashville, Tennessee, who is coming after your gig. And I think if you have a constant reminder of that, that can do nothing but improve your football team.
Looking at the eventual 30 guys that you're going to sign. Is there one area that you wish maybe you would have addressed a little bit more, whether that's guys that didn't sign with you guys, or if it's just areas that maybe weren't addressed enough?
No, not really. Like we mentioned before, we knew, the linebacker spot. We felt pretty good about where we are, and that may be something that we address after signing day. Just kind of seeing how all the scholarships shook out, and I've still got a little bit to sign. I always keep a little change in my pocket, just in case, and I've still got a little change in my pocket now. So that may be something that we address moving forward. At the linebacker position, just to get again another body in that room. But if we didn't do anything from this point forward, I would feel okay. Now I don't tell my staff that, so don't let that get to my staff. I got to have them like recruiting warriors still, but. But if I felt really good about where we are from a class standpoint.
One of the guys you talked about, Trajan Bright, played at Mayfield, broke Jonathan Jackson's rushing record at Mayfield. What kind of role do you see him playing with this team?
I don't know. You look at him and he's an undersized guy, okay? And make no bones about that. He's an undersized guy when you watch him. But my goodness, man, if there's one word that you kind of put a high premium on, that's production. And when you're talking about production, that guy's produced now. When you look at his career stats, and like you said, he's the all-time leading rusher over there at Mayfield, and beat all of Jonathan. I remember the week because we were at the hotel when it happened that Saturday, and Jonathan Jackson, I didn't think he was going to be worth a toot for us that game because he was all jarred up because Trajan had beat all of his records and all that. Again, with all of those skilled guys, whether it's offensively or defensively, the best thing about those guys is the biggest thing that you're looking at, especially if you've got a little bit of depth at that position, is can he bring fourth down value? Can he come here for his first year? Is he a guy that we need to redshirt, develop, keep over a year? Because obviously I would love to do that with all of these guys. We're not quite there yet. We don't have the ability to do that. So what you do is you look at him and say, hey, man, can he bring some fourth down value? Can he cover a punt? Can he cover a kick? Can he return? What can he do other than just his primary spot? And if he can do all of those things, then he's that much more valuable at his primary spot. And we'll do that for every kid on this list.
Of the signees announced, including the early signees, are there any that you anticipate to make an immediate impact for you?
Obviously, especially all of those mid-year guys, we expect those guys to be immediate impact. One of those quarterbacks has got to step up, take the reins, or at least that's why we signed them to do that. You're hoping that J.R. Burns, the offensive lineman, can come in and be an immediate impact in the interior of that offensive line. You're hoping that Kenny Wooten, one thing that I thought that we needed the most defensively was a chance to get after the passer. We got to find somebody who can get after the passer, and not bring pressure to get to the passer. And I think Kenny Wooten does that coming off the end. And then obviously, Rico McGraw, he's been a guy who's done it at the highest level. So I think that he's going to be a tremendous impact player on that back end. Fortunately for us, we're at a position right now where I think we do have our ones and twos going through spring. So any of these guys, we sign them all to be impact players, but any of these guys who become impact players, it's just icing on the cake. We got a couple of those guys, those wideouts. There's Daquan Dallas. I mean, he's a 10-500 now. I'm talking, kind of world-class speed. I mean, he can run. And some of those guys, Rodney Castile over at Liberty Tech, those are guys who had tremendous production. Got a couple of guys, Austin Thomas played on the state championship team. Liberty Tech was a state runner-up team. So you add that into the mix, and you're hoping that some of these guys can come in and be immediate impact players. But the good thing about where we're at right now is we don't necessarily have to have them be.
Your team took quite a step forward last year in terms of wins and losses in league play especially. Is the added depth the key to making that next jump maybe to contender status?
I think so. As a staff, we talked about, I think that our first 1 through, call it 50 guys, I think they're as good as we play against. I really do. I think when you put our top 50 out there against other people's top 50, I think for the most part we're going to be dead even with a lot of people, if not everybody in this league. Where we have had our deficiencies in the past is the back end of that roster. When we started, like I said, when we had an injury on the back end, well, then all of a sudden you got to move this dude who has no idea how to play this position, and then you got to take this guy and move him over here, and he has no idea how to play that position, and you got all of these domino effects. What you're hoping is if you can build that depth, you at least think, okay, hey, if we got this injury, you've got this guy you can just put up in his place, and you feel good about him. There's not a huge drop-off in talent. And that's ultimately what we're after. And a lot of that's going to come from some development. You know, a lot of these offensive linemen that we got, you can see they're big, long, 300-pound guys. A lot of that looks good on paper. When they walked into the room, you may go, ooh, boy, he's got a lot of trimming up to do or, you know, developing to do. And we're okay with that. You know, that's kind of the plan. Again, we're at a position right now with the guys that we have on campus where I think we could take some of those chances and take some developmental guys and hope that they could build into something 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road.
How much change do you have left in your pocket?
A little bit. Enough to jingle when I walk down the hallway.
Okay.
So we're always looking around here. Even if I didn't have any change in my pocket, I'd be looking anyway just because I'd get bored if we weren't. So we're always going to look, and we're kind of at a best available right now. You know, when you get to this time of the year, you're just on a best available. I don't really say, hey, man, we're looking for this position or that position. At this point, it's going to be, hey, coach, man, my buddy just called. He's got this kid, da-da-da-da-da. We look at him and say, oh, yeah, he's probably as good as we're going to get. So, and we'll do that all the way up until the day before camp. You know, we'll have our radar on. Oh, good. I will say this. We got, really excited. I got a little signing day party for all the local people who watch this. Got a little signing day party going on over at the Country Club tonight at 6. And get a chance. You know, I've got a little highlight, put about 3 or 4 of these guys' highlights on there so that I can show, all of Racer Nation, what they're getting. So very excited about that. Would encourage anybody who's around tonight to come out and visit us at the Murray Country Club so that we can talk about these guys a little bit more in depth.